Welcome back to the Tailosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's the last episode before the Plaid Model S Delivery event, unless there's a tweet that has been made we don't know about yet. Randy, what are we getting at this event? Are there surprises?
A Model S and nothing else.
Just one.
Why would they live stream this, you think?
Because it feels good to go back to a normal world.
They know that we'll watch it. That's why they're live
When's
streaming.
the last time they did a live stream? Battery Day? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm confident that it's a return to form style, in the sense that Elon has been pretty open about his frustrations with the pandemic, and he's a guy who just wants to get back to work, type of a thing. And this is a cool way a year into it, to say, hey, we shipped Model Y, we did Battery Day, we stayed operational. So instead of doing like a site refresh, which they could, I mean, technically the site refresh came, you know what I mean? But instead of it just being that, the company didn't get to do their PR. So this is a great way.
They dissolved that department.
I know. Oh, wink, wink, right? But Elon's the PR. Elon's the PR. They didn't have a proper introduction. So, Plaid Model S, yoke steering, sexy interior. Maybe the sexy lineup is the surprise. Cybertruck will make an appearance. If there was to be a one more thing, then it would be. I would really hope it is Cybertruck related, because it wouldn't affect anything about this the Model S. It's just news update. If you brought anything out that, hey, by the way, the Model Y, and then it kind of takes away from the S part. But if it's something that's hasn't came out yet, but they want to give updates, this is the final thing. This is what it looks like or something. Then there you go. My fear, and the reason why I don't think that's going to happen, is I don't think in this situation you would want any reason to take away from promoting the Model S and getting any sales out of it. And Cybertruck, anything updated Cybertruck related, will be the highlight of the show and completely overshadow what the event is about.
Agreed.
Yeah, I struggle to find a way they can do a whole live stream event about just, okay, here it is.
Now.
Well, I mean, that's what they do.
Come get
It comes in 6 colors now.
Well, they talked a bit more about the 3.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, here's your 3s. Like, he had a whole presentation about specs and range numbers, and
We could do the same.
right.
So, I mean, this wouldn't be the first time we've had a hyper short Tesla event. I mean, remember the Model Y unveiling? Like, that was 20 minutes flat, and Cybertruck was like 30 minutes flat. So it was.
I think it was 35.
Okay.
But
Not
most of
the
it was
hour and a half
history
long
lesson.
Apple shows
This is
that we're
definitely
used
no
to.
Apple
No,
thing.
Tesla's events are always pretty short, unless it's something like Battery Day. But yeah, I still think that they wouldn't broadcast it unless there was something else. I think there's got to be a little more to it.
You want there to be something else. What do you think it is?
I think you're being a little optimistic there, Drew. I'm gonna say I don't think I'm expecting anything. It would be kind of fun if there's a van or Cybertruck news. Or
Walk me through it. What happens? What's the stage of events?
Okay,
at
so
this
first,
event?
Elon is about 30 minutes late, and then
Yeah, that's a safe assumption.
and then
That's
we
why they
get
didn't
the-
even send out a time, by the way.
Yeah,
They just said it's June 10th at some point.
Next year.
just clear your calendar the entire day.
June 10th next year. Yeah.
Did they say the year
That's
though?
amazing.
So Elon's late by 30 minutes, and then after that happens, we get the standard Tesla hype intro video, which is going to be about 90 seconds to 2 minutes.
New B-roll.
New B-roll.
I'm excited for the B-roll footage.
There you go. Probably going to be heavily showing the Model S Plaid. Now that we already know what it looks like, we'll just get crispy B-roll of that. And
Nice.
then Elon's going to get out there and he'll be like, thanks for coming. So the Plaid goes really fast. See, we beat the Bugatti Chiron on this quarter mile run. Here on here's the results. Yeah. So thank you for coming. Bye. That's the event.
How long is it from start to finish?
About 30
Your
seconds.
guess. 30.
No, that was literally
They
the
like
event.
go live.
They
There's like a
pre-recorded it.
15-minute
They
countdown.
pre-recorded it, and I've already seen it. So that was the whole event.
It's like 30 seconds start to finish. What do you think it'll be like, Mike?
I mean, something similar to what Nick said, but probably a little bit longer. I do think I think some Model X's might be there, or at least one or two might be rolled out to kind of show, hey, we're still working on this, but here's what it looks like in the Model X. We can't wait to ship this out in a couple months. But today is the day of the S. In which, from the pictures that we've seen, they definitely have enough for a whole bunch of customer deliveries on stage, or on stage, I guess on camera. And then I think they have a pretty good backlog to send out to delivery centers to have people deliver, or not deliver, but take delivery. So
I wish we could go.
I mean, I could technically drive over if what Randy was saying is true, that maybe the Cybertruck might be there. You bet your sweet money that I'm going to be driving over there as fast as possible across all the highways just to get a glimpse of the Cybertruck, since I haven't seen it
Take your
in
wife.
person. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Kilowatts needs to look around for the trailer, because I don't think it's at Giga Texas. So maybe it's back in Fremont or something. I don't know where they ended up, but went to New York and back. So I could see them talking more about the interior. They didn't really get to dive very deep into the new GPUs that are in the Model S refresh.
AMD.
PS5 level graphics. So if they go into that and talk about more of like the game titles that are available on just the S and the X, plus the fact that they have this new active noise cancellation speaker system, there's all these little fine print details on the website that I would like to see them dive more into the details with. And I don't know, it just seems like there's probably lots to talk about. I'd be very interested if they could at least update us on where the FSD subscription or Beta 9 is at this event, because
God, wouldn't that be great?
it's perpetually been 2 weeks away for 9 years now or whatever. So if they could bring that out here and be like, so the yoke steering wheel is great because you don't need to drive much anymore. FSD just around the corner. Again, something besides just the, okay, here's your key, or lack of key. People just
card.
take it. Here's the key card. Thanks for coming. Like, Model Y couldn't get its own delivery event, sadly. And I guess the Model 3 delivery event was the last one, huh?
That was the
I mean,
they
it was
do
the
this-
most
delivery event.
important.
Yeah. That was a big deal for them. And I don't even know if they can do a Cybertruck delivery event, because the Texas law still hasn't changed.
Yeah.
They have to ship them out of Texas and bring them back in to do deliveries.
Yeah.
That's going to be a complicated event.
What if?
Jeez.
What if the? Okay, so my expectation is just a Model S, a 43-minute long video. Oddly specific, 43 minutes long,
Okay.
but there you go.
43.
43, and that's
Does that
to-
include the 30 minutes of waiting for Elon, and it just says Tesla live stream
Absolutely,
starting
no,
soon?
absolutely. People are gonna fill. There's gonna be fillers. Good morning, and all that, and their version of good morning. But Elon will come on the stage with his leather.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome to Tesla.
Plaid is
and-
from Spaceballs.
There you go. So
Oh, you know the intro is going to involve some Spaceballs memes. I think.
That would be good.
I
like
wonder if what they'll be talking about is to fill the dead air. They'll do the thing that like we see Apple do at the start of the keynotes. You know, just talk about their highlights over the last year and how they've been successful and
Talk
and
about
all
Giga
that stuff.
Berlin.
Yeah, just
we've removed 30 parts in the last month.
Just talk about their accomplishments as a company, not necessarily the vehicle. Talk about maybe the batteries and just promote. Use this time to promote the solar roof panels and all this other stuff that maybe don't get their moment of like verbal acknowledgement. And looking at how the stock has been not volatile, but it's been climbing down again. I think anything to talk about the company in a good light will most likely do its stock favors. And I feel like us holding our breath for anything special. The most we would get maybe is FSD updates, I'm sure, just because people it's the biggest elephant in the room, and people want to know. I hope we see the Cybertruck. People want to see it, but there's only so much that just it tugging around. Hey, look, this is our literal visual brand. You see that, you know what that is. So just having that in the background would be good, but I think if they can do anything to help the company look better than it already is, and just anything to, good PR, talk about FSD on a more official platform that's not just Elon tweeting, highlight the goods of what the company's been doing all around the world, and then just finally give us a release date and final version of Cybertruck. Call that a day. I like to see things about the Model X, to be honest, though. That's a good point about the Model X. I would really like to see something. Same way I got excited about the Model S. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't care about Model S, and then they did. They started doing it. I was like, ooh, Model S looks nice again. I would like to see something like that with X, just out of pure boredom, maybe. I don't know.
Did you guys ever see the dual motor event they did?
No.
For Model S, way back in the day?
Yeah.
No.
Way back in, I think, early 2016, 2015, they had a whole presentation and an event at, I think it was Fremont or Hawthorne, where they just talked about the dual motor powertrain and what it's capable of. And there was just this big, the invite image was like a garage door with a D on it, and it was going to be the first, P100D model. It was like the first time. They also announced at the event, Model X would be dual motor only, never a single motor version of the X. And I was hoping for something similar at this event, just because we know that Plaid powertrain is going into so many different variants of their product now. We know it's going in the Cybertruck, it's going in the S and the X, and it's going in the Roadster. And that, they could talk about, I would love to see them talk about the energy efficiencies they can achieve with a tri-motor system, alongside how you can make a giant pickup truck go 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds, which is faster than the Performance 3 and Y, but with a giant exoskeleton and everything. So that kind of tech, I think it now, of course, would be a good time. Wishful thinking wise, it's, you're probably all correct that it's not going to be much more than we think. But the idea that Elon said they would do a Cybertruck update in Q2, and we're kind of in the tail end of Q2, this would fall within that realm, but we know he's not on track for sticking to his word with those types of things. So
shock.
Now would be a good time to save him. They said they've got the finalized design. They're not tinkering it anymore, and that was a few months ago. So if we're all going to be at the Fremont factory and you got R&D somewhere around there, just wheel that thing out, updated design with some windshield wipers and side mirrors, be like, okay, there it is. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be, street ready or anything.
Right.
It could be an empty clay model if all I care. Just something be like, this Plaid powertrain we're talking about is also in this, and this is only $70,000. Maybe that's why they don't want to
The Plaid
unveil it.
Cybertruck.
Mm-hmm.
That's
He
right.
did call it that, or say there's something to that.
There's some
There's a little bit-
Plaid Cybertruck in the lineup, or at least something that they're thinking about, whether it's a performance tri-motor or something else.
Yeah. I like the software the Cybertruck has. It's got to be different.
I want what we saw with that concept, that this Matrix monotone look. Everything about it.
It's only
they need a mini LED
mode,
display.
Which is what I'm a little bit concerned about, is that they've only shown dark mode with it, not light mode. So
I think that's a great choice.
Well, dark mode is good, but you can't really see too well in the sun when you're driving around with dark mode.
Only if you have
maybe
your
not
eyes
with an
open,
LCD.
Mike. Just close your eyes and you'll be able to see just fine in the sun. Jeez.
I know lots of people that use dark mode exclusively. So it can be done, I think.
We have the lights.
You need the right contrast ratio. That's it. They need an XDR display.
Is that it?
Just stick a whole Pro display in there.
This one has the power of a Xbox Series X.
So do you think that Tesla's tank is going to just drop? Tesla stock is going to tank. I said that backwards.
It's like Tesla's tank, and I was like, does it mean the Cybertruck? What's he talking about?
Yes. Do you think it's going to drop after everyone realizes that the reason why no one can get PS5s is because Tesla has been hoarding all of the PS5 chips?
Ooh, I hope.
Chip shortage? I think not.
People are going to start scalping the Model S's because they have PS5 parts in them.
Imagine see a graveyard of dead Teslas. It's going to look like a scene from the Terminator, but just with cars.
Yeah, probably. I don't know why the stock would tank, but it probably will. It seems to always tank whenever Tesla announces something awesome. Yeah. So I'm just kind of getting used to it.
Hey, to be fair,
we're profitable. Sell.
To be fair, I noticed the same trend with Apple. And in recent years, I changed up my strategy. I don't buy the night before anymore. I buy the day of, because people just get excited. And it just drops. I'm like, okay, time to get some stuff. I don't understand why people sell on good news. It's not even a short seller thing, because those people can't move the profit of the stock that way. But I think no matter what happens with the live stream, I think the stock will go down, because and not long term, not in a negative, like, oh, now the company's gonna be here. Just, I think what's gonna happen that day or the following day is people are going to do what they love to do and put a microscope on Tesla and just be like, okay, well, you didn't say, and they love to just kind of do this to it. And I've always felt this, and we talked about, Nick and I talked about this, and after Nick told me this yesterday, it just sat on my head.
We're gonna have to start the Drew and Michael show.
Yeah, I think that's the only solution to this problem.
There is a bias against Tesla, and
what
with mainstream media. Doesn't
guessed. Consumer Reports not acting fair.
Wait, I know, right? Hang on. So mainstream media just wants shock value, so negative news sells. That's what they capitalize on.
Oh, yeah.
So they are biased against Tesla. They love saying something bad happened with Tesla, because everyone's like, ooh, and then they just shimmy over there and like, what's going on? Whereas like independent news is a lot more objective, or at least more
can be more objective.
Well, they can be.
YouTube channel I follow, I think it's like Tailosive Tech or something like that.
That's pretty biased.
Totally all in on Apple.
Biased.
It's like that's not objective news at all.
That's pretty biased. Yeah, but
you're right, Randy.
I am right. I know. What am I right about?
I'm glad you inspired yourself to be right, Randy. That's good.
Yeah, wait. I'm what part am I right about, Drew?
No,
wait, which part?
The story of the car crash. I forget where it was.
Yeah,
Texas.
But I guess that was in Texas. But that was completely blown out of proportion. Basically, someone got in a Model S, an older one, and they didn't use autopilot or anything, but they crashed into a tree, and that suddenly turned into full self-driving is dangerous.
Yeah, go figure.
and because the person wasn't in the driver's seat. And then Wall Street Journal was making up a bunch of untrue, like it took hours for the fire to be put out, and that autopilot was on, and there was like no evidence of that. And the police report came out later, and they were like, I don't know where they got all this info from. They were literally just making stuff up. It was not. It was not like eyewitness testimony.
They already have a circumstance in mind, like the mainstream media already has this idea that Tesla's bad, and it's like the glasses that they're wearing. All they're doing is wearing the glasses that everything that Tesla does is bad, and they just can only see that. And so if they see an event like this, they instantly, assume that it was the worst, and then they run with that to outside of the end zone. They run into the locker room with that because there's just way too much of this misinformation going on. It's so sad with Tesla and SpaceX. Like, I think that's what Randy and I were talking about. Like, none of Elon's companies work with the mainstream media. It's kind of funny to watch that. Like, Apple does like their little press events, and you get the exclusive Tim Cook interview with Good Morning America or whatever. Tesla doesn't.
They got lots of time.
Yeah.
Tim's got one company,
Yeah, that's true.
Elon's got like 6.
This is true. But
I know Randy talked about misinformation in public, but Mike, have you ever run into people in your personal life that just have like complete misunderstandings about Tesla and stuff?
I feel like you're setting me up for something, but yeah.
Here comes the pitch.
Smooth
There's
transitions
been a couple
away.
times on Twitter and other mediums where I make just a single comment, like not even against another car company. It could just be like, well, I don't think that's a fair assumption saying that this car company is better than this one, because they both have their pros and cons, and both can exist and both can produce great products. If you're reading into this, it's about the Cybertruck versus the F-150 Lightning. And yet there's people online that also very much are either very pro Ford or pro Chevy or pro whatever and or anti-Tesla. Maybe they're not anti-Tesla, but they come off as it. And I think it's good to challenge a company, especially like Tesla, who's really breaking the mold and changing what it is to be driving a car. I think they have definitely made an impact in the whole entire industry regarding what the interior of a car looks like. I mean, just look at stuff like the Hyundai Ioniq 5. That thing, I'm pretty sure, is really impacted, or at least the design of it was taken from a Model 3 or Model Y. So I think it's good to keep things in check, but at the same time, it's not good to spread misinformation, or at least have a certain bias in the news regarding that. But I mean, that's the world we live in. We've got a whole bunch of different news sources that have their own viewpoint, or at least their own agenda. And so I think it's our responsibility, just as the consumer, to not take them at their word, but to fact check them and look at other news sources.
100% agree with that, Mike. Yeah, so like, I'm really glad that there are so many news sources, though, right? Like, if we only had one news source, like, that would be absolutely terrible. I'd much rather have a bunch of news sources. The problem is people are not willing to invest the time to do the research themselves, and so they just find their favorite news company and they just toe the line the entire way. And they're unable or unwilling to look at pieces of information outside of what they are focusing on and make that distinction for themselves. That's the big problem with misinformation these days. People just choose to do the lazy thing and not research anything, which I myself am guilty of sometimes, especially around Apple news or whatever. Like, we'll see the Apple versus whatever that gaming Epic Games, was that it? Like that lawsuit thing, and I just kind of automatically default side with Apple. And I'm going to be honest, I haven't done much research on it, but it feels right to me, right? Because I'm an Apple student. But so we're all guilty of it. But it's a matter of how much energy you put into fighting that.
I do think people don't give Tesla enough credit for how they've changed pretty much the whole direction of the automotive industry, because I feel like now it's becoming abundantly clear. Like, the narrative now with the automotive legacy companies and up-and-comers is that, okay, electric's the future, and how are you going to transition your lineup over to electric? How quickly? How soon? What's the range going to be like? What's going to be your priorities with an electric lineup? And I think it's safe to say not that long ago, probably just 5 or 6 years ago, that was not the question. There was still a lot of automotive companies thinking, well, we don't know if electric's the future.
Hydrogen.
It might be
Make a
fuel
hybrid.
cells. It could be we could just do hybrids. There was a lot of debate going on pre-Model 3 that this electric thing was even going to work, that like it would be possible to have enough batteries or to make them charge fast enough. And I think Tesla took a lot of that early risk, and they were just like, no, electric's the future, we're going to do it. And a lot of legacy brands were just kind of sitting back watching, going, maybe not, we'll wait and see. And now that narrative has just completely shifted over to everyone's like, okay, so this is the future. We know that now. But Tesla was kind of the pioneer in that direction. I mean, they weren't the first electric car by any means, but they were the first to be like, we can make all cars electric, and we're going to make sure that we only do electric. And all the other companies out there were like, we know there's alternative energy types of consumption.
Hydrogen.
We'll see what happens.
But then
You don't
I
have to
remember,
be first. You just need to be better.
right, exactly. And all these other brands have now seen Tesla's success, and they didn't have to take that risk. The one I keep thinking of was the Mercedes EQS. I was like, they didn't have, I think, that same confidence in electric cars just a few years back. And they were like, nah, we're just going to keep being us. We know what we're comfortable with. We know what our customers like. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And now they're probably seeing how Tesla's changing the game with this great range and, luxury vehicles. And it's obviously probably causing a big dent in a lot of different premium auto segments. And now Mercedes is seeing that going, oh, okay, so we need to make a really good electric car for people to consider us like an option in the future, because all these people want Teslas and charging network. And so the Mercedes EQS was like, okay, we're going to bring our luxury brand into the electric world. And I feel like if Tesla wasn't around, that transition would have taken a lot longer. And I don't think Legacy Auto would have just stumbled upon that. I think they would have been hesitant for change, and they would have been like, but our supply chains are all built for the combustion engine, so we don't want to mess with that. And we kind of needed Tesla to get everybody, put some fire beneath their feet and just like, hey, let's go. We got to get this transition on. And I'm very grateful for that, because if we didn't have a company like that, we probably wouldn't be here. You guys probably wouldn't be driving Teslas, obviously, or any electric car. That
I wouldn't be
wasn't
interested.
here, you wouldn't be driving a Tesla.
Oh, what? No, I wouldn't be driving it. The thing is, I wouldn't be interested in vehicles if it wasn't for Tesla. Tesla,
me too,
became my gateway drug about other vehicles, and admittedly, sometimes even outside of EVs now, just because I'm just now I'm interested about the engineering process of just vehicles and stuff, things that we just take for granted. Things that we just grew up with, all of us, and things that our family grew up, like to see how the transition of the automobile history as a whole, from having the get out and you see the guy cranking in the front and with the terrible ratio, and everything's moving all quick and it's all out of sync. It's not on the same frame rate. And you go from that, fast forward a few decades, and then you have people driving these remember seeing concept art for vehicles in the 50s and 60s where they were just being very far out there about it, but it was them getting a feel for identity and style and that whole thing, which was pretty cool. Then you fast forward when they introduced automatic transmission, and those things were terrible, and then they got better over time. Thank you. Thank you. So then I lost my train. I got such a yeah. Sorry, things. A lot of stuff's still happening. But anyway, thank you.
Lucid.
Thank you. But just to see the history of automobiles going from all of that, and then it just feels like we've wanted, as a society, we've wanted something like this, because you look at like the Jetsons and things that were what people picture the future to be. They're not flying cars. But my God, man, like this is cool stuff. We're not flying yet, and I don't think it's gonna happen, but At this point, like, you don't need to. What was the purpose of what was the lore about flying cars? Flying cars was this idea of not being stuck in traffic, and it also maybe more realm and stuff like that, mining, air restrictions and stuff like that. But the idea was to open up these bottlenecks of congestion. And so what does Elon do? Well, I'm going to make tunnels. It could be the same thing, but we're going to do tunnels. But even cooler than that is the concept of a car that just drives itself, and you don't have to do that. People didn't fantasize about self-driving cars like that. Kind of in the James Bond way, boop, boop, and then it pulls up real quick. But the whole thing can drive you? Oh, you don't need a steering wheel. Oh, that's trippy. That's going really far out there. But it gives you the same satisfaction of what people were like, I want to fly in cars because I don't want to deal with traffic. Well, what if you didn't have to deal with traffic because we make the interior so nice and so relaxing, and the car drives itself, someone else is driving you, and then you don't have to worry about, you don't get road fatigue the same way. It meets the same end result in a different outlet, and this is what we've always wanted. And someone as creative, or a bunch of creative engineers over at Tesla were able to pull this off. I just wish the mainstream give it more credit, because we've wanted this. This is so cool stuff.
I do want to add that I do acknowledge that Elon Musk has made a whole bunch of different claims that have not followed through in reality, with swappable battery packs, being able to drive from California to New York in 2017 or wherever on autopilot or something like that. A whole bunch of others. I acknowledge that. Like, yeah, those didn't happen, but other things did happen. Like the Model Y came out, something that is a really cool compact SUV that can service many different people's needs, and it's not that costly. I mean, it's a lot costlier
and ahead of schedule.
But it's, I don't know, like, focusing on the things that didn't happen is a bit of a negative outlook. It's more of focusing on things that did happen. Whether you want to focus on SpaceX and the rockets that land, no one thought that was going to happen, and that happened. Took a while, but it happened, and now they're doing the same with Starship.
Couple booms.
I remember watching them. But then the same with Tesla. Yeah, they didn't get a $35,000 vehicle, but instead they got a pretty good lineup.
They did for vehicles. 2 weeks.
Yeah, they got a pretty good lineup. They're on a better track, I'd say. Like, there's the ideal track of, we get cheap vehicles from them, and the cars drive themselves all across the country, and you can swap battery packs everywhere. But is it affordable? Most likely not, like in some of those regards. Or
getting there.
Is FSD affordable in that case? Like, in this reality where the car can drive from San Francisco to New York, it probably costs $20,000 or something like that. That's something that could probably hike it up to. So I appreciate the reality that we live in with Tesla the way it is, and the fact that Nick could get up right now, go buy a Model 3 with FSD, and be able to drive wherever he wants in the United States and not worry about being stranded in the middle of nowhere, because there's superchargers everywhere. Like, they follow through on that, along with a whole bunch of other things that aren't really put in the spotlight. I mean, even just the fact that Tesla says, okay, they have a track record of following through with specs on their vehicles. So at least they're
usually beating.
So it's a very nice spotlight to be in when you've got that background, and then you announce a truck that has 500 plus miles of range. I mean, people should be excited. I don't want to say, oh, Ford wins versus Cybertruck because Ford can build this vehicle and Cybertruck will never be built. I think that's a weird way to look at reality. I think it's better to say this track record of this company states that they will deliver this vehicle with these specs or better in the future. It may not be as soon as we think, but it's going to happen relatively in a close enough time frame to where it's not like 10 years later.
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean,
ballpark.
A case could be made for the Roadster and the Semi. Probably more like the Roadster, but still.
Yeah, I don't get that argument either, because people act like Ford is like always on time, on schedule with all of their product releases, and they definitely have not been. Or they act like Ford has flawless quality control, which also makes me laugh, because they've had all kinds of problems.
They also pretend
we're
that
talking
Fords
about
last a long time, which they don't.
You know, my first vehicle was a Ford pickup. I no longer own that vehicle for a reason. Wasn't because I wanted a new one. It's because I had to get a new one. So yeah, if we want to talk about companies that don't stick to their timelines and have bad quality control, Tesla and Ford are kind of guilty in that, in both departments. But yeah, I was curious if, because Randy mentioned the Boring Company, I was curious if you guys have kept up with that at all. I really got into the rabbit hole on it recently. It's a very interesting direction. It's kind of related to EV, I guess.
They've got cars in the tunnels, which is pretty cool. And they've got a really good light show in Vegas. It looks like it's getting close to some sort of controlled access for the public, where people will be able to go in there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
They did a test run.
Yeah. I just don't think it's going to be on the merit that Elon Musk was promoting, of like anyone can drive up to this with their Tesla and go down and drive around. I think it's going to be a little bit more controlled in regards to there's some attendant on the surface level of stuff. Yeah. And then you're able to gain access to go below.
Yeah, they changed it. They changed the loop to fit what Las Vegas was looking for primarily. So I think that's where a lot of the criticism comes from, is people not understanding what was being asked of the Boring Company and how exactly they delivered on that, because the colorful lights thing is funny too, because every time I go on Twitter and they're talking about the Boring Company, everyone's complaining and saying this is so dumb, just make a subway or just make a minibus or just a transit bus system, and they're like, this is so stupid that they have the colorful lights, you know, strobing all the time. I see a lot of pictures of the Boring Company before they put the RGB in there. It does look kind of sad and pathetic looking when there's not much color.
Yeah,
I know. I think that was a great idea.
It's a hole in the ground.
It's just a big empty room with these tunnels, and when they just have it like white lights, it just looks like a warehouse. It looks like you're just walking around.
Maybe I'm not keeping up with it. What have they changed from what they initially were promoting or promising or what have you? What's changed?
I mean, initially it was like you drive up with your car on the surface level, and then you drive it onto a skid or an elevator skid or whatever. That takes you down to the
sled.
Yeah. I guess that's a better name of it. Sled. Takes you down to one of the tunnels, and then takes you at whatever speed that's going on this sled while you're in your car. You don't have to do anything besides sit there and enjoy the ride. And then it takes you to whatever destination that you're going to. And apparently there's multiple tracks as well, so you can have other people kind of passing you in a way, going different speeds, I guess. So I think that was the original pitch, and then it slowly turned into, okay, well, maybe we just have the car go quickly, but it's like in a vacuum tube. And then it kind of matured into the idea of, well, maybe it's not a vacuum tube. Maybe it's just.
I don't remember the vacuum tube part.
It could have been them trying to mesh.
I think that was Hyperloop.
Boring Company and Hyperloop.
Yeah, Hyperloop was a vacuum. Yeah. They simplified it a ton. As Elon alluded to, they were like, yeah, it's basically just Teslas in a tunnel. And I think that the innovation of that company is being misunderstood, because it's primarily about how cheap digging can become. And everyone that criticizes the Boring Company has solutions that cost way more. Yeah. And to me, it's very obvious that they are not in the industry, because everyone's solution is just, well, just do this, just make a rail system, just make a train system, or just make a bus. It's like all those things are way more expensive. And there were 2 bids that went to the Vegas Loop when Vegas was saying, like, hey, we want like a transit system for getting people to the convention center from the airport. And Boring Company came in with a $50 million bid. And I forget the name of the other bid, but it was like $200 million, and it would have been like a subway, like train system. That's the one that everyone's saying they should have done, which is 4 times the price.
That's crazy.
And less scalable.
Yeah.
The Boring, because the tunnels only have to be as big as a traditional vehicle, even if the diameter is like half the size of a train tunnel, that's like a quarter of the work, because you're moving so much less dirt and have to reinforce so much less volume, and you can dig so much faster, and the longer it takes to dig the tunnel, the more expensive it is. So it's all just about like the speed and the cost savings, and electric vehicles are a lot cheaper to operate than these whole...
And even in the tunnels, right? So conventional, like long highway tunnel systems, you see the tunnel part, when you're going through a big mountain, like up in the Rocky Mountains, there's this big tunnel,
underwater.
the Eisenhower Tunnel. It's like a mile and a half long through like the base of this huge mountain. And it's a 2-lane highway going through this tunnel, and you only see the 2-lane highway. It looks, like a 2-lane highway going through a tunnel. But what you don't see is the ventilation systems, the emergency routes, because there is so much infrastructure that goes into each one of these lanes in these conventional tunnels because they're gas cars. You have to be moving a ton of air through that so that, the air doesn't become toxic in the middle of the tunnel because of all of the emissions. Yeah. And that's something that Boring Company doesn't even need to worry about because they're only going to let EVs in. And so that allows them to reduce the diameter of each lane to just like the size of the lane, which is perfect. And it's beautiful.
We have a tunnel
and
out
the vehicles
here.
Go ahead.
I was going to say we have a tunnel out here that goes underwater between 2 big land masses, and there's a few tunnels out here, and the infrastructure of it, they're expanding. I see them building out the bridge even more because you go from lane to out onto the water, and then it kind of takes you under. And every time I go under it now, this time around I'm driving around. I didn't think about it last time I was out here, but now I'm like, oh, so this is what like the Boring Company would feel like. But it feels old, for lack of a better word. Not because it's aged, inside, but just looking at it, I'm just like, no, this could be done better because there's still traffic that happens inside these tunnels and they suck. And I'm like, oh God. So now you're sitting there thinking like this is a point of necessity just to get from between, through a body of water. But I always thought the idea of tunnels themselves were limiting, and then Boring Company comes around and it was like, oh, well, no, it's the way, Elon's it, where he's like, oh, simple, you just got to, different layers, and it's more safe in earthquakes and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. We should do this for everything. But then, saying it and actually it happening with all those regulations, because you definitely have government involved in that, and it's tricky. It's really tricky. But I'm of the I like the idea. I'm of the opinion that using EVs for the Boring Company it should be that way, because in my mind I thought that's what it was going to be. I always thought it was just all these Teslas networking underneath, because it's our version of the HOV lane that we get our own, and we just kind of bypass everything through things. That's how I thought. So I didn't realize until now that I had been thinking about it wrong this whole time, but it coming full circle, oh, I am getting my thoughts or my wish, because I thought it was an HOV lane for Teslas or EVs or something, but it looks like that wasn't the initial intent. The idea that I remember Elon talking about, that like there's layers and you can have multiple layers and just free up all this congestion in LA and New York and Chicago and all the San Francisco and things like that. I'm thinking like, why aren't we funding this?
Why aren't we?
Yeah. It's because it sounded so perfect. But I guess there's so much that goes. Like even Nick just said right now, I would have never thought about that. Now I'm thinking about it. The tunnels are so big because you can't have fumes in there, so you have enough room. But I always thought it was big because you don't want to get claustrophobic. Because I gotta get out of here. I'm underwater.
No, we'll get very claustrophobic. Yeah.
You bring up a good point though, Randy, that I didn't think about. That is going to be probably a question that they're going to have to answer eventually, or maybe they'll just ignore it. Is it just going to be Teslas in the future that are only allowed in these tunnels? Or is it going to be kind of like what we have with the supercharging station or supercharging situation, where it's like, is Aptera going to get access to the superchargers? Is BMW going to get access? Is Rivian? Who's going to get access to the superchargers? The same question can be applied to the Boring Company and their tunnels. Yeah. Is it just going to be Teslas? Are we going to get other EVs in there, like Leafs and Rivians and Lucids and other things? What's that going to look like?
Can those leaps make the
The
distance?
Boring Company has already said that they're willing to work with other EVs, not just Teslas, but they'd have to adhere to strict, size requirements, speed requirements, and range and stuff. All that. They're similar to the Tesla Supercharging network. I'm pretty sure there's going to be lots of strings attached.
If the only requirement is being smaller than a Cybertruck, it's not going to be too hard.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ford Lightning.
Well, Aptera is gonna. It's gonna be kind of wide in there, but
no Ford.
For the foreseeable future, I don't know if the plan is for any current Boring Company projects to let drivers just come in and do it themselves. It's basically don't think of it as more highway. Think of it as a subway station that's powered by EVs and not a train. Because all that rail and all that giant machine here's the great thing about the Boring Company efficiency. If there's not a lot of traffic going on with a subway station and there's like 2 people on the train, you have to use the same amount of energy to move that entire vehicle for 2 people. Whereas the Boring Company, if there's low volume traffic for a while, they can just use 2-3 cars just to move however many people are there, late at night or whatever. And then if there's a lot, then sure, they can use all 60 Teslas. That's how many they're using right now. Wow. But yeah, I don't think for the foreseeable future it's meant to be like a thing, because even if they did require it to be EV only, I'm not exactly sure how you enforce that. Do you have like an entry point to the Boring Company you're trying to get in, and they're like, yeah, you're not an EV, turn around. But there's all these cars behind me.
You have to be this short to enter here. Sorry, Nick, you can't come.
To be this short. I think for the more recent projects, it's mainly going to be like, an escalator that, you get out of an airport, you go down, and then it takes you to where you want to go. And they did say that there were officials that checked out the Boring Company tunnel that Tesla has like this 12-person transit van that they're going to eventually use. So the long-term plan isn't even to keep using the X's and 3s and Ys, which is pretty much everything but the Model S. I don't know why they don't like that.
They don't want to enable Plaid mode in the tunnel.
Too long. The Plaid S is too wide on the back. It's very thick. But on the 12-person transit van, and I also think that achieving autonomous driving in that kind of controlled environment is going to be super easy. Yeah. In fact, I don't know why they can't do it now, to be honest.
Most of those subway systems are already automated. I mean, you look at literally every airport subway ever. Yeah. Well, they have a rail. And for the most part, having this kind of whole tube with one lane is pretty much a rail. It's a visual rail.
They just need a digital rail. Even if you don't use the full self-driving beta V9 or whatever, they could just do some kind of like custom software that just gets an HD map of the tunnel.
Line follower.
So the car knows exactly where it is at all times. It knows exactly where to stop. And I feel like if you gave them like a weekend, they could find a way to make it autonomous. Just with 12-person transit vans.
Or are they having drivers in those 60 cars? Okay.
They have drivers right now.
Wow.
Just because the software is not currently prepared for.
I almost wouldn't trust a human to drive that, honestly, because those tolerances are so small. I remember when Jay Leno took the Cybertruck through, and I realized the Cybertruck's a little bit wider than Model 3, but maybe by a foot, not by much. Model 3 is pretty wide still. And he was crawling through like 15 miles an hour, and he was like, ooh, ooh. Okay, sorry, well, Jay Leno was squinting and doing that.
I'm just imagining Jay Leno crashing the Cybertruck in the Boring Company.
It's looking pretty good.
9.247. It just flips over. But right now, the loop is not very long. It's like a mile. So they're limited to like 35 miles an hour. They don't go very fast.
Well, still, 35 miles an hour in that tight of a space, I would almost trust a computer more to keep a straight line than a human. Because I know how I drive.
I mean, I feel more bad for those employees. They have to drive in a circle all day. It probably gets old. Get in. Yeah, it's a glass roof, I know. And they can't floor it or anything. Yeah, they just have to.
Floor it. Okay, floor it.
If they had floor it. If they had vehicles specifically designed for that, but people don't understand like the amount of money and time it takes to like design a completely new platform, or how much those subway or even the buses. People were suggesting buses. They're saying, why don't they just do buses on the surface? I'm like, do you completely miss the point of the Boring Company, which is to like try to help traffic by getting more cars off public streets and stuff. Like, we should just have more traffic. Problem solved. It'd be way cheaper if everybody was just
to fix the
stuck
traffic,
in bumper to bumper traffic.
Put more traffic on the street.
If there's too much traffic, just take a big bus and throw it in the traffic. That'll solve the problem.
Buses don't cause any traffic as they stop on every single street corner.
I think just it's underrated and people hate on it a lot, but all the YouTube channels I watch that go really in depth in it kind of explain why it's kind of smart, and there's a lot of it's very scalable is what they were saying. Like you can just dig a new tunnel, now they can go further because the loop isn't done. They plan on going further, and once you get, Tesla wouldn't have to make much. Just make like 60 12-person vans that don't have steering wheels and they look like the little glass rhombus trapezoids. Yeah. And those just autonomous drive everybody around. That would be so cool. I would just go to Vegas to ride it. I wouldn't even do anything there. I would just hop on and be like,
you're
not there to drink.
Oh, why are
you're
you
not
here?
there to gamble. You're just there to woo!
Drew for 12 hours.
What happens in Vegas will get put on the YouTube channel.
But it will also literally stay there.
Well, the vans in Vegas will stay in Vegas.
And we're not talking about the shoes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Will not make her dance.
Anyway,
But
thanks
they
for
look
hearing
like
my
sneakers.
positive rant about the Boring Company. Underrated.
They're a
Doesn't
cool
get
company.
enough credit.
They're pretty good on responding to applicants as well. I've made a few, or not offers, but I've applied to a few positions, and they're pretty good at getting back, saying, we're not looking right now, or this has been filled. Maybe it's because I'm so new of an engineer. But they're a lot more responsive than Tesla or other companies that I've applied to.
Good luck getting anything back from Apple. I'm still waiting for my resume from 2015.
I think they'll get to it at some point, Randy.
Tim found
Sounds
our
like kind of a
podcast.
boring job.
I get it.
Dad joke, look out.
I get it. I am
The Boring
deceased.
Company is a dad joke.
It
The whole
kinda
thing.
is.
It's literally a joke.
The logo
That
is
ass.
black.
That makes it a dad joke, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the
I'm just saying, like, it's
company
a boring
flamethrower.
logo.
I thought it's very clever. Just
it is a
the
boring
full O.
It
Yeah,
really
The O
is.
is a circle. I was like,
That's boring.
I like that.
Everyone else, what is that, Drew?
I get it. I got Starlink. I want to support SpaceX. I've got a Tesla Semi. I want to support Tesla. I don't know how to support the Boring Company. That all their merch is sold out.
You could
So-
always just buy
can
a
support
flamethrower off
Neuralink
eBay
by
for like
being a guinea pig.
$8,000.
That doesn't support them. That supports some guy who bought the Boring Company flamethrower for like $500 or whatever. I want to see more tunnels.
Just mail a check to them. I'm sure they'll take it.
Here you go.
More
$5.
tunnels.
Go out to Vegas and start digging tunnels with a shovel. That's how you help.
Oh.
Actually,
Oh,
start
okay.
digging in your own backyard, Drew. There you go. Look at me.
Start
I'm a
digging a hole.
subsidiary of
Elon,
the
I'm
Boring
making a
Company.
station for you. All you have to do is connect it with
I'll
your
make a
tunnel.
new station. It goes from my house to the Fremont factory. I can go straight to Mike's place. Yeah.
It's going to take you a while.
Do you think that?
It's-
Okay, so hold on.
Beat
We
the
just
snail.
joked about that real quick, but as the Boring Company gets cheaper, do you think there'll be a point where moderate wealthy to like really wealthy people, like say like Beverly Hills, like what if some famous TV actor in Beverly Hills wanted a private tunnel to his beach house in Malibu? Do you think that will start to become a thing where like people can just have their own little private tunnels all over the place?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe.
Do you guys disagree? But I think yes.
I mean, my answer is rich people will do what rich people do. But,
Wow, thanks. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think what's easier is just being able to have your personal driver drive you in
Your
whatever
personal
vehicle
helicopter.
they
no, but I don't want to have pictures taken of me on the road. I just want to, just be
Then
in
tint the
Malibu.
windows. Or draw the blinds.
Trump
These people
blinds
have money.
I see
Winston.
people, not
Winston.
wanting to deal with their own traffic. I mean, the Vegas loop was like a mile and $50 million, so you'd have to be very rich. But
Yeah.
with all the
if
people
there's
buying
one place that's
crypto
very
these days.
rich, it's L.A.
Yeah, I was gonna say the great thing about digging tunnels is that you have a lot of depth that you can work with. So even if a city or a government was like, oh, we don't want some rich person having a private tunnel that goes underneath all these different properties, is like you can just tell them to go deeper than everybody else. It's like, okay, you have to be below a certain depth.
Man, I thought you could just tell them to go. Just go F yourself. That's why.
Go dig yourself. Is that what you're saying?
Hey, you go dig yourself.
Well,
that's it. Hey, we don't want you digging below our popularity. Yeah, you can go dig yourself.
If the state says no,
you do it anyway.
Then Texas will say yes and take them over. They'll be like, we can't dig our own tunnels in California. We'll go to Nevada. We'll go to Texas, and they'll let you dig. They'll be like, sure, yeah, bring your business, bring your money, spend your enterprise
Hide your
over
kids.
here.
You could dig a hole in my backyard.
Yeah. Kansas is like, we don't care. Do whatever you want.
We already got prairie dogs. They already make tons of
We'll
holes.
let you dig a 50-mile tunnel for $2 million. You can do whatever you want down there, and then the billionaires will
but
have
if you find
their
any
private.
gold, it's ours.
I like people speculating about how the Boring Company could be used on the moon or Mars, though. That's an interesting discussion I've seen as well. Not even for transit, just for like housing. It's just like being able to open up a large amount of volume that's protected from radiation in a quick amount of time.
And you can
just have like a
just go live underground on Earth then. It's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
Go live in a cave.
That's
you
true.
gargoyle. Just go
I am
hide.
the
Gravity would be lower.
You live above me, but nothing lives below me.
The moon would be cool because you could have internet, but Mars, I'm
my
with
God.
you there.
It's all about the internet, Drew.
Think of the moon as you could have a low gravity hotel that still has internet access. The Mars
That
is
will
like
also kill you.
no, you'd be good.
No, not if. So there have been those concepts. So if you go deep enough in solid enough bedrock, you can easily pressurize a living space in the near vacuum of the moon. So it just with the Boring Company's current technology, you could easily just cap the two ends with an airlock and pressurize the inside, and it'd be a perfectly.
Think of how
habitable
fast
area.
you could run.
Are you saying the first payload to go to the moon on the Starship is a Boring Company?
I will not be surprised
machine?
if that's one of the first payloads. To be completely
I would be.
honest.
I'm saying it won't be the first,
Yeah,
but
No, not
someday.
the first, but one of the first. I'd say, yeah, within the first 20.
The
I
Boring
would
Company
imagine.
digging machines are by no means lightweight or small.
That's
Or
why we
boring.
have
Also needs a lot of
Starship. Starship.
The whole digging machine takes up the whole second stage. It just goes on super heavy
it
booster.
just goes on super heavy booster.
And then it just goes straight into the ground. It doesn't land.
I can see that.
It just goes full speed.
So,
Hey,
what a perfect
Starlinking.
segue. Hey,
Hey, where's my
Speaking of-
Starlink?
Oh, great.
I know, I wanted
Speaking
to.
of
SpaceX.
Starlink,
Yes, Mr.
I'm
Randy.
Starlink.
no, I know I got nothing.
Oh.
Oh.
Do you guys really? Would you really want to be on the moon?
I'll wait.
No,
Yes.
I'm good. I like the Earth.
100%.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay down here. It's prettier down here.
I mean, I'll only move to the moon or Mars if it is, I don't know, if it's a nice habitable area. Like I could see myself. I think I've mentioned
Like
this.
terraformed?
Yeah, like if they terraformed Mars, I would definitely consider. I mean, maybe I'd consider it. I wouldn't say that it'd be a done deal. Things that are stopping me is the horses, like all the pets that the wife and I own, and all the things that we have. Like, do I ship my Model Y to Mars, or do I just somehow check a box on the itinerary?
I don't think I'm ready to say goodbye to everybody that I know. Like, well, I'll never see you again. Bye.
You guys are nice, but I'm ready to say goodbye. Bye, guys.
Yeah, you're a hermit anyway, so it's a little bit different. But
Thanks.
me, it's like I need to.
Randy won't
Feel
go to the
skin.
moon. Hold on. Randy won't go to the moon till there's a Starbucks and a Burberry.
A Burberry?
Starbucks will probably be on the moon in our lifetime.
What's a Burberry?
It's a very fancy fashion store.
Oh yeah,
It was
Oh,
the
wait.
Angela
Oh,
Ahrens used to be the
Burberry.
CEO. Of Burberry.
Burberry, the Yes, you're right.
Burberry,
No,
yeah.
Nick's right. Nick is right. Yep, that's me.
Starbucks.
I like the moon because you can.
Go ahead.
You can come home quickly from the moon. You could go there and come back within a couple weeks. So,
I could see you doing a vacation on the moon, but living there. Nah.
Drew, we need you to come home. There's an emergency. I'll be there next month.
Yep. It's about how long
it's just like a cool space journey, and you don't have to be disconnected. We could have a FaceTime call from the moon if we wanted to.
I would rather be
would not
at
say
Starbase then.
They did it. I mean, they did it in the 60s.
Okay, yeah, but that was like a 2.5 second delay.
No,
And,
on
Or a
farming.
I have
single
worse
live
delay.
stream with
Correct,
Drew
all
with
clear.
Starlinking.
Yeah, we have a bigger delay now.
okay.
You can't say FaceTime is 0 delay.
I would not say FaceTime 0 delay, but it's under.
I agree. We have a bigger delay right now.
A second.
We have a whole global
That's a good
internet
one, Nick.
service we didn't have in the 60s. We have higher bandwidth.
Yeah, sure. I'm saying if
transmissions.
it was instant transmission between Earth, the surface of Earth, and the surface of the moon, it would be an unusable FaceTime call. It would not be something that we would want to record a show with because I'd be 2.5 seconds behind you one way. Round trip would be another 2.5 seconds.
That's basically now. We're already there.
Is it? All right. Well, when I sync stuff up, I'll let you know how long the delay was here. Just this week.
I just
But
mean
imagine
it's definitely
most of
not
that a
instant
second and a
now.
half. No, but that's not a 5-second delay round trip. I mean, you can have a live conversation. It's just going to have a lot of talking over each other and like, oh, I'm
Think
sorry.
of
No, you
think
go
of
first.
those news shows where they're like, "Back to you," and the person out in the field's like, "Thank
Thanks,
you."
Tom.
You know, it'd be like that.
Yeah.
It just takes a few seconds to be like, "Okay, I'm talking now. You're talking."
Okay, well,
On
if
Mars,
you're willing to put up
it'd
with
be
that,
pointless.
that's fine. But
For a
Thank
couple
you.
weeks, sure.
Freaking you both.
Thank you.
thank
Anyway.
you. I am here reporting live on the moon with Starship in my hand.
Can you imagine Trump trying to do a presidential debate with a 2-second delay over everything? I could just see
Keep talking.
he would just
Yeah,
keep
he
talking.
interrupts anyway, so he'd be fine.
It would be normal.
I try to put
He would
myself
just
like
The
interrupt
how
2
moderator,
seconds
though, the
before.
moderator would have a problem. The moderator would be like, wait, 2 seconds.
They just mute his mic.
Immediately feel like if you're going to go to the moon and you're going to be up there, at
Like
no
Doge.
point, like and you see nothing but Doge up there. Hey, all dogs go to the moon. Oh, I get it. But if you go up there, my first thought isn't, can I do a show up here? My thought is, I'm on the freaking moon.
Hey, thank you, Randy. That's the right answer.
I got
It would wear off.
And then I would FaceTime somebody. Hey, guess where I'm at? But then all you would see is at.
At moon.
My upload speed is 0.01. Yeah. Oh my. I would. Can you? Oh man. The satellites have. They would have to put more satellites around now the moon. You need to orbit something
Easy.
that's.
Yeah.
No, but is it? Because the moon is orbiting
Oh, yeah.
Earth.
Easy in comparison to everything else, but it's not easy by just a single
So
item
you need
standards.
something to orbit something that's orbiting the Earth. You need a
Yeah.
double
Falcon
orbit.
9 got
Okay.
That's
yeah.
a
Falcon
Three-body
9
problem.
got thousands of satellites in space within like 4 years.
Yeah. But
orbiting.
Just ship a whole bunch of CubeSats.
so
the
yeah,
moon-
ship them off.
all you need for basic, moon coverage is maybe
Hey.
4 or 5 Starship, with some kind of version of Starlink. But
I have a genuine question for you, Nick. Actually,
Yes.
open floor. The moon.
okay,
What
so not
is?
just me.
Well, it's
the moon?
directed towards you, but it's everybody else. The moon. What's our moon's name?
Luna.
Luna.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Nick.
Greek name, Roman name.
I was like, everybody's got these names like, oh, X5733. Oh, ours, moon.
Phobos.
Well, I mean, here,
it's
Randy,
literally
let me ask
the moon.
you, what's the name
moon.
of our sun?
The sun? We name
Sol.
stuff in relative. And so
Solar.
okay, so if you're gonna do
Sol.
Aptera. Roman names, it would be Sol. If you're gonna do Roman names, yeah, it would be Sol, Luna, all that is romantic based. But
is the name of our son actually Solar? I did not know this.
No.
Sol, S-O-L, Sol.
Oh, LOL.
It's not short for solar, but solar is a
out of
term
luck.
that we use.
So
Starlink have luck.
SOL.
But the real question is, what do the aliens call our moon?
3B9.
Weird.
Well, actually, no, there won't even be.
they they call it
They call it squeaker squeaking, squeaker squeaking, squeaking,
Yeah,
squeaker
they're
squeaking.
They're all just squirrels.
Should we bring it back to EV at the end so that we're in sync?
Wait, what?
Like
This
Randy's
isn't the
audio.
space podcast?
I'm excited about Aptera's Soul. The Soul vehicle that Aptera is making beautiful.
I like the look of it too, and I want it to come out now, please.
Why do you think Marquez does not validate Aptera?
They haven't offered to do a video with him yet.
That wasn't my takeaway.
They didn't pay him as much.
I think he's heard so much promise. I mean, based on the conversation we were talking about, it sounded like that Lucid wanted to reach out to him recently, and they were asking like if he could do a follow-up video, and he said, "Let me know when it's out." He was basically like, when it's available and driving around in customers' hands, then I'll do another video. But if it's just pre-production prototype stuff, I already did that. We did that in 2017.
Do you think he'll do that again for the Ford?
Yeah, it's a good question. But that's the thing, though. During the podcast, he was like, "Yeah, Lucid, they're not out yet." But then with Ford, he was like, "Oh, I'll do that." So
Yeah,
I was like,
their
Ford's,
prototype
that's
video.
why I'm asking. Like, why would
He
he
seems
not?
to do like a prototype video and then a release
he
video.
did a prototype video with the Lucid. He's done a prototype video, or did he do a
The
prototype?
Cyber-
Yeah, I'm sure.
well,
he
he
would
was
do it
at
with
the
Cybertruck.
event, but he
Yeah.
didn't get like a hands-on.
No, but he still did a video talking about it.
Maybe that's why he offered to do it with the Ford, was because, for one, they're a big company. Aptera is a startup, and Ford is like best-selling vehicles in the world. And two, they offered him an exclusive like private tour where he got to check it out in person. And
Oh, so
doesn't
him
seem
and the
like many
president have
people did.
something in common. Oh,
This sucker's quick.
Only if you move out of the way.
Get in front of my truck.
Only if you get in front of my car. What? Hey,
A lot of people were acting like Marquez had, fixed every issue with the Lightning. But I was like, you notice he didn't put in a reservation. He did for the Cybertruck.
he did. Do you think? Do you think maybe because he has some other agreement with Ford?
I think a contract was definitely signed. I don't know if they would let you just check out the pickup for...
No, what I mean
just,
is,
"Hey,
do you
come
think
hang
he
out."
didn't put in a reservation because they're just gonna give him one?
I think it's because Marquez, out of all tech channels I've seen, no one is completely objective and fair, but he's pretty dang close to trying
It's
to
because
be very
Marquez isn't a
down the middle.
truck person. That's what he's been saying.
He's not a truck person, and he was impressed with a lot of the Lightning, but I think ultimately he was focusing on, this is important for the industry, and this is important for Ford, but he still wants that Roadster more than anything. That's his type of vehicle. That's what he wants. He's not the type to ever, feel like a traditional looking pickup. I think the only reason he was into the Cybertruck was because
It's so
of
weird.
it's weird. Well, he also said he wanted to move camera gear around and
Yeah, I mean, even
load
initially
it full
said,
up.
I'm not going to reserve one. And then either a couple weeks later or something like that, he said, this could be good for filming. This is a good
and the
excuse
range
to
is
buy
really
one.
good,
Yeah.
Mike,
and the acceleration, and he's a Tesla guy ultimately. Like he said, the Supercharger network is the main reason he wouldn't consider a Taycan or.
The
remember
real
asking
question,
you guys-
though, is why hasn't Elon had his exclusive Lightning interview video? Why hasn't Elon posted his video?
He's too
of that?
busy
Too much going on. He did congratulate them though. He gave him credit. He was like, "Hey,
I think he's
well done."
think he's genuine about the excitement when Ford said that they were entering the EV market a while back, and he was like, "Congratulations, Ford." No, seriously, type of a thing. I actually think he is genuine about it. I don't think he's being like, "It's about time." I think Elon genuinely feels we're doing this so we can move the market forward with the industry forward, and Ford is a big player in this, and I think it's a genuine congratulations, and I
do
think
too.
that's cool.
Yeah,
he wants that because he probably knows. He wouldn't say it publicly, but he's like, if we can get more people switching to electric and we don't have to find the batteries for them, that's a little bit off our table. Yeah. Ford can help out with some battery production, and even if I don't think this is happening, but even if a chunk of Cybertruck reservation holders ditched their Cybertruck in favor of the Lightning, Tesla's like, okay, all right, maybe we can catch up sooner now.
Maybe we can meet our third deadline, not the first or second. But
it's the same thing with Rivian. If R1S takes some Model X orders away, they're like, oh, thank God. We can catch up on Model X deliveries. Jeez.
I have a question for Mike, because I've asked both of you guys before. Mike, if it was in your budget and money wasn't an issue, and you could have your Teslas, would you get the Roadster? Do you see yourself being a Roadster person, or is that just not for you?
So that's something that actually I had a conversation with one of my coworkers yesterday. Funny that you bring it up. It would be awesome. I think it would be fantastic. It would be an honor to own the Tesla Roadster. If I had the money, the wife would also say yes. The issue is money, and I don't know, because how do you say no to something that does 0 to 60 in less than a second, that has 600 miles of range, and potentially has thrusters on it?
Cup holder.
BMWs didn't have cup holders for like years.
I think that interior will be very different in the production.
Well, you can't even hold a drink in there, even if you did, because it's just going to go everywhere anyway. So you wouldn't want to have a drink in there.
I mean, my big gripes would be, I want to store more in this thing, because all we've seen so far is that there's only the storage behind the seats, and it's not too big of storage. So, I don't know. Otherwise, if I had the money, I'd go for it. I don't have the money. I have enough money to get the Cybertruck possibly in time. And so that's what
Where would you park it?
For. It would, so...
How about my garage? My garage is available.
We could park it all the way at Nick's house.
Just leave a pair of keys here.
We have enough space. The Y would stay where it is in the garage. Currently, right now, we have a 2-car garage.
And a 1-car garage.
Well, it's separate garages, but currently right now we've got the Ram in one garage and we've got the Y in the other one. What would happen is the Cybertruck would sit outside, assuming that the solar tonneau cover becomes a thing. It's just more incentive to stick the Cybertruck outside, and have the Roadster either in the spot where the Y is or where the Ram currently sits. So it does have space.
Then where does the Y go?
The Y goes in one of those garages. What I'm saying is the Cybertruck lives outside, and then the Roadster and the Y live in
the Cybertruck lives outside? What? No.
Poor Cybertruck.
It doesn't have paint.
The Cybertruck is not in a garage. Get off this!
Have rights too.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. You were the person who got berated over the fact that you wanted to park your Cybertruck inside. And everyone's like, no.
I can't. Oh, my goodness. There's no parking. There's no parking. You have to either be in a garage or you have to go find street parking. And in that situation, I don't want to be on the street with the Cybertruck. I don't care how safe it is. I want to look at it outside of my office window. I want to lick it. I want to spit on it if it's so close.
What?
Hey, thanks for checking out EV this week, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.